Welcome to my narrative on Deception Chronicles. Once I believed patience was an honorable trait. Now I understand it can be a tool. My name is Austin. For 90 consecutive nights, my wife said, "Not tonight." Each one I tallied, not from vengeance, but pattern recognition. As by day 30, I sensed something amiss. By day 60, I realized it was someone else. And by day 90, I identified who, why, and the value they placed upon me. By day 91, I initiated divorce proceedings. On day 92, I filed criminal charges. On day 93, I enjoyed my best sleep in years. However, I've jumped ahead. Brooke and I had been married for 6 years. Years I considered fulfilling, establishing a comfortable life in Portland. Together, we ran a boutique software consulting firm with Pierce as my partner, while she handled a prestigious interior design portfolio. We hadn't started a family yet, but we talked about it. Our social circle was small, consisting of close friends, weekend hikes, occasional wine country escapes. Gradually, I began feeling unwell, with occasional headaches and fatigue attributable reasons at first, as I'm not one to keep tally in a marriage. Work pressure had been high for both of us, as I had secured a significant contract with a healthcare network, promising consistent income over 18 months that would open doors to commercial real estate investment. My wife, Brooke, was supportive, expressing joy when I shared the news, but her gaze often strayed towards her phone. Pierce, my longtime friend and business partner, seemed delighted as well. We celebrated with a premium whiskey in my home office, discussing possible upgrades to our server infrastructure, perhaps hiring more developers. Pierce, who's been by my side since college, best man at our wedding, the one who helped me settle into my first apartment, and encouraged me to launch the business 4 years ago, shared my excitement. "This alters everything, Austin," he stated, gripping my shoulder. "Strange. I hadn't detected that Brooke had ceased participating in our festive occasions. I hadn't noticed she'd extended her working hours, taking calls privately, securing her laptop with passwords, something she had never bothered with before. By the second week, "Not tonight" became a regular occurrence. By the third, it was accompanied by prearranged excuses. And by the fourth, she began using the guest room, attributing my snoring as the cause, despite my not being a snorer. I have undergone a sleep study 3 years ago for insurance purposes, but didn't contest her claim. On day 38, I arrived home early from a client site. Brooke's car was in the driveway, so was Pierce's truck. I found them in the kitchen, engrossed in what seemed like spreadsheets on their laptops. They jumped when I entered, only for a moment, but enough. "Hey, man," Pierce said, regaining his composure swiftly. Brooke requested that I review the financial forecasts for the renovation job at the Denton residence. "I needed a second view on the figures," she indicated, closing her laptop. "The clients are being tight-fisted regarding tile expenses. Pierce knows a contractor, recall?" Yes, I recalled. It was a possibility, except that Pierce's specialty lies in software systems integration rather than construction budgets. Moreover, Brooke hadn't ever asked for his assistance on a design project before. "Sure," I agreed. "Would you like to join us for dinner tonight, Pierce? Sienna is expecting me," his wife. He hastily collected his belongings and departed. That evening, Brooke retired early. On the 38th day, "Not tonight," I remained in my office and scrutinized our business accounts. Everything seemed regular. I also examined our combined personal accounts. For years, we've maintained financial transparency, sharing a password manager. But recently, I found unexplained charges on Brooke's credit card statements, dining expenses at unfamiliar restaurants, hotel bookings in Seattle over weekends when I was visiting my parents, an unwarranted jewelry purchase from a boutique that never arrived. I documented everything without approaching her yet. 45 days later, I engaged a private investigator named Tucker, a former detective specializing in corporate and domestic cases. I shared my suspicion about Brooke's potential infidelity, but withheld the possible connection to my business partner to let him follow the evidence objectively, asking for however long it takes to establish certainty. 52nd day, Tucker presented his initial findings. Over the previous 2 months, Brooke and Pierce have been clandestine meetings bi-weekly, frequenting coffee shops, hotel lounges, and on one occasion, a supposed design conference in Vancouver that Brooke had shared was her destination. The images were discreet yet incriminating: a touch on her back, an arm slung over shoulders, a stolen kiss in a parking garage. Tucker hinted at more indiscretions. They have taken care to conceal their interactions through disposable phones and secure messaging apps, but I've traced them to 3 secretive encounters with another individual. Lawyer Donovan Hastings specializes in asset division and business dissolution. Upon learning this, my stomach churned with uncertainty. Why would a lawyer with such expertise be required? That was what I paid them to determine. On day 61, I engaged my own legal representation, a sharp woman named Barrett in her 50s who had handled numerous high-profile divorce cases in Portland's tech scene. I provided her with all relevant evidence, including signs of an affair, secretive lawyer meetings, and suspicious credit card transactions. She inquired about our prenuptial agreement. Yes, a standard 50-50 asset split was in place, but it also protected each party's premarital business interests. My firm would remain mine, her design portfolio hers. Barrett then questioned me about my business partner and the percentage of ownership he held, 49%. I held 51%. She requested a comprehensive audit of my business accounts, detailing every transaction for the past year, insisting on an external forensic accountant rather than my usual bookkeeper. She believed it was essential to know the precise location of my funds before making any decisions. The auditor, Gretchen, was hired that same afternoon, and she meticulously sifted through our financial records like a bloodhound. In 3 days, she summoned me to her office to discuss her findings. She reported a missing sum of approximately $180,000 over 6 months, hidden in vendor payments to shell companies, inflated contractor fees, and non-delivered equipment purchases. This scheme appeared highly sophisticated, suggesting an insider with intimate knowledge of my procurement processes had orchestrated it. The room swayed as I realized it could only be Pierce. Although intent remains unproven, these transactions required dual authorization, mine and Pierce's. Someone forged my digital signature on the approval documents. I recalled instances where Pierce requested access to my login to approve time-sensitive purchases while I was in client meetings or used my laptop. We shared a password to our business banking portal due to trust. Could it be recovered? I asked, but proving fraud and tracing the money's destination would require law enforcement involvement. This transcends civil matters, Austin. This is now a criminal investigation. 73rd day, Tucker handed over the conclusive evidence. He acquired video footage from the hotel where Brooke and Pierce met with Attorney Hastings, without audio, but with a more significant find, tracking Hastings' post-encounter and conducting a background check. Specializing in a particular niche, Hastings assisted business partners in acquiring co-founders during divorces, primarily by leveraging the turmoil of crumbling marriages to obtain business assets at bargain prices. The plot became clear like ice forming on glass. Pierce and Brooke were having an affair. Emotionally wrecked and financially depleted by the divorce process, Pierce would likely propose a discounted buyout offer, cloaked as mercy, to alleviate my concerns, offer a fresh start, and relieve me of management responsibilities. Though the prenup protected the business from Brooke directly, it didn't safeguard against a sale I agreed to as majority owner, and all the missing funds may be stashed in their controlled accounts, intended for Pierce's buyout or vanishing into their new life together. The audacity was stunning. The betrayal was more devastating. By the 75th day, I consulted Detective Reynolds from the Portland Police Bureau's Financial Crimes Unit, presenting Gretchen's audit, Tucker's surveillance reports, and Barrett's legal analysis. Reynolds deemed it solid work, indicating we would need to independently confirm the digital signature forgery and interview my accountant under oath. If this evidence checks out, you're facing felony theft, fraud, and potentially racketeering charges if we can establish ongoing conspiracy. But how long? I requested 3 weeks, approaching white-collar cases cautiously without alerting Austin. Avoid conflicts, maintain normalcy. Meanwhile, my wife turned me down night after night, and across the table from me sat my best friend in business meetings, discussing our company's future. This was a routine for me, having done it for 75 days. Days 76 to 90 were a performance. I portrayed an exhausted, emotionally detached husband. I ceased initiating intimacy, making Brooke visibly relieved. I took on additional client work and gave Pierce more authority in the office, even suggesting he and Sienna join us for dinner. We dined at a downtown steakhouse. Sienna, unaware of the situation, chatted about their upcoming anniversary trip. Pierce checked his phone twice during dinner. I noticed Brooke do the same, presumably coordinating. Day 87, Detective Reynolds called. We had gathered enough evidence. The district attorney wanted to proceed immediately, executing search warrants on our business premises and homes simultaneously, seizing all digital devices, and bringing both subjects in for questioning. When? 91st day of your count, it was a Friday morning. The symmetry seemed almost poetic as the day before, on Thursday night, Brooke approached me in the living room while I was either reading or feigning to do so. She whispered softly, "Austin, I think we need to have a talk." I raised my eyes, asking inwardly, "About what?" "About our relationship." She suggested we discuss it, seeming sad. Perhaps a temporary separation might be beneficial to sort things out. A break, coincidentally timed with the divorce filing preparation. I agreed to talk about it over the weekend, expressing exhaustion. She looked relieved when I proposed postponing the discussion to day 90. I hadn't slept not because I was anxious, but because I was calculating. By tomorrow afternoon, both of us would be without custody. By next week, our assets would be frozen. By next month, I'd regain my company, money, and life. Brooke had given me 90 days of rejection. I was about to give her forever of regret. The search warrants were executed at 8 a.m. I was at the office when the police arrived, ensuring Pierce would be there too. His face upon seeing 6 officers enter with Detective Reynolds was a sight I'd remember. Confusion, then recognition, then panic ensued. "Austin, what the hell is? Pierce Grayson, you're under arrest for felony theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit fraud." Reynolds was professional but firm. At home, Brooke experienced the same scene. Tucker, positioned across the street, recorded her reaction. By noon, both were being processed. By 2 p.m., Barrett filed for divorce and requested an emergency injunction freezing all jointly held assets pending the criminal investigation. By 5 p.m., I was in my sister Heather's kitchen, numb but okay. Heather asked how I was doing. "Honestly, I'm numb, but I'm okay." "You've been planning this for 2 months, Austin, longer, since day 38 really, since I saw them in my kitchen and knew something was wrong." She shook her head. "Most people would have confronted them immediately, blown everything up, and they would have hidden the money better, destroyed evidence, played the victim." I set down my coffee, needing them to feel safe so I could build the case. The preliminary hearing was set for 3 weeks later. Both Pierce and Brooke had been released on bail with their own lawyers. Brooke's parents mortgaged their home for her legal fees. Pierce liquidated his retirement account. The courtroom was smaller than on TV. Judge Sullivan presided, a woman known for intolerance toward financial crimes. Gretchen testified about the forensic accounting showing fraudulent transactions. Tucker testified about the surveillance. The digital forensics expert testified about the forged signatures. They found Pierce's VPN logs showing him accessing my accounts from his home IP address. The critical moment came when they played the audio. Tucker hadn't just taken photos. He'd placed a recording device in the hotel bar during one of their meetings with Hastings, legally permissible in Oregon, where only one party needs to consent, and the bartender was his contact. The audio quality was crystal clear. The key is timing. Hastings' voice came through, emphasizing that the divorce should affect him emotionally and financially, making him vulnerable to a buyout offer. Pierce would acquire majority control at 30% below market value, giving him cash for his fresh start, and once the divorce settled, I too could. The courtroom was silent. Judge Sullivan looked at the defense table. "Do either of the defendants wish to make a statement at this time?" Brooke's lawyer whispered frantically in her ear. She shook her head. Pierce's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we maintain our client's innocence and save it for trial, counselor." Sullivan's voice was ice. "Bail is revoked for both defendants pending trial. They're both flight risks with demonstrated willingness to engage in conspiracy and evidence of transferred assets yet to be located." Her gavel came down, remanded to custody. Brooke's composure finally cracked. She turned to look at me, tears streaming down her face. I looked back with nothing at all. The trial took 4 months. Both were convicted on multiple counts. Pierce received 7 years in federal prison and was ordered to pay full restitution plus damages, roughly $400,000 once the lawyers calculated interest and business impact. Brooke received 3 years as an accessory and co-conspirator. The divorce was finalized while she was incarcerated. No assets, no alimony, no contact. Hastings, their lawyer, was disbarred and faces his own charges for conspiracy to commit fraud. Apparently, we weren't his first victims. Pierce's wife, Sienna, divorced him and apologized tearfully. I told her she had nothing to apologize for. She'd been deceived too. Last I heard, she moved back to California to be near her family. My business recovered. I hired a new COO, implemented better financial controls, and actually grew our client base. The publicity from the case, while uncomfortable, apparently signaled to people that we were serious about integrity. I still live in Portland, different house now smaller, but mine alone. I hike most weekends, been on a few dates, nothing serious. Heather checks on me regularly, insists I'm emotionally unavailable. Maybe I am, but here's what I know. Patience isn't weakness, strategic thinking isn't cruelty, and when someone shows you who they really are when they reject you 90 days in a row while plotting to destroy everything you built, believing them the first time is kindness to yourself. Brooke gave me 90 days of not tonight. I gave her forever of consequence. People ask if I regret how I handled it, if I wish I'd confronted them earlier, tried to work it out, given them a chance to confess. No, because the moment I saw them in my kitchen on day 38, I knew the marriage was already over. The question was never whether to end it. The question was whether to end it as a victim or as someone who understood exactly what had been done to him and why. I chose the latter. Some nights I think about the man I was on day one, the one who didn't count rejections, who trusted his wife and best friend, who believed patience was just waiting for things to get better. That man died somewhere around day 60. The man who took his place is harder, more careful, less willing to accept easy explanations or overlook patterns, but he sleeps through the night. On day 91, when I watched both of them taken into custody, I didn't feel anger or vindication or even satisfaction. I felt free. That's worth 90 days of anything. This is a story about cheating. Thank you for listening.